Yo, what's up everyone? Peeper here with another video for you. So we're going to be taking a look at the Dark Knight, and I'm going to be going over the changes a little bit more in depth in this video as of patch 5.1. This is part of the revamped series that I have to do now for all my guides because they changed everything, but it's all good, gives me something to do. Per usual, I won't really be going over too much in depth what the actual additional actions do. I'll talk about which ones I think are good for the job, but I'm not going to go over what they specifically do just because they're shared between all four of the tanks. If you want my opinion on what they are, or my opinion on what those do, then you can check out my patch notes video that I put up a couple weeks ago where I sort of give my thoughts on them as a whole. Alright, so starting out with Dark Knight, you have your standard 3-hit combo. Restores 500 MP and generates 25 blood gauge. Then you also have your new AoE combo, which is a 2-hit combo. Again, 25 gauge, and it restores 250 mana per enemy hit, as well as healing you on the final hit there. Now, this blood gauge can be used on either Blood Spiller, which is just a single target nuke, which restores 500 MP, or Quietus, which is a 1000 damage nuke to anyone in a circle around you, and it restores 250 MP for each enemy hit. And next up, we have Edge of Shadow and Flood of Shadow. So they're essentially the same ability, just one's AoE and one isn't. So Edge of Shadow is single target, deals 1000 potency, costs 2500 MP. And then it gives you Dark Side, which increases your damage dealt by 10% for 15 seconds. And the more you use this ability, the longer that will stack up to a maximum of 60 seconds. Now also reduces the target enemy's HP recovered via actions by 20%, which is really, really strong. Probably Dark Knight's biggest selling point. And then Flood of Shadow is just the same thing, except it's in a line in front of you and does a little bit less damage. Now next we have Delirium. Now this just allows you to use Blood Spiller and Quietus without having to have blood gauge. So it's a 6-second, it lasts for 6 seconds, so it allows you to get 3 casts off essentially. So, you pop that, boom, boom, boom. So it's a good way to get mana back quickly if you're in a pinch. After that, we have Unmend, which is just a ranged 400 or 800 potency range attack that generates 10 blood gauge. Nothing too special there. All the tanks got something like that. Plunge lost its stun, which is a bit unfortunate, but it still resets if you get a KO or an assist on someone, and it's just a 30-second gap closer. Then we have the Blackest Night, which is pretty much the same, just they reworded the amount of damage reduction that it does. So now when you put it on someone, the damage shield is equivalent to a 3000 potency heal. It lasts for 6 seconds, and if the shield breaks, just like in PvE, you will then get Dark Arts, which then allows your Edge of Shadow or Flood of Shadow to be mana free. So essentially with this, since they all cost the same mana, you can get essentially 5000 mana worth of abilities out for half that cost, which is really strong. You just have to know when to apply it and have the shield break. And now the new ability that Dark Knight got is Dark Missionary. So the 60-second cooldown, instant cast off GCD with a 15 yalm radius, and what it does is it reduces you and all party members' damage taken by 10%, and also increases their healing received by 10%. So Dark Knight is sort of being pushed more into this increasing healing received, reducing healing received type of job. This ability, along with Edge of Shadow, is why Dark Knight is arguably the best tank to bring right now. I've been watching some tournaments, and from what my own gameplay has shown, it definitely feels like it's the strongest. Not that the other tanks aren't good, but there's just no situation where bringing a Dark Knight isn't helpful, purely because of Dark Missionary and Edge of Shadow, Flood of Shadow. It's just really, really, it's just so good. So that's it for all the changes and all of the new abilities that Dark Knight got as of 5.1, excuse me. So next we're going to be jumping into... Ooh, limit break's ready. So next we're going to be jumping into some gameplay, and I'm going to be talking about, what role actions I think go well with it, what ones I don't think go well with it, and general tips and tricks of how to succeed and help your team as much as possible. So real quick before I dive deeper into the class, if you guys are enjoying this video and made it this far, then please drop a like and maybe subscribe. It'd really help me out and show the YouTube guys that you guys like this content. And let's get into it. So as I said before, your biggest strength as a Dark Knight really is your healing reduction. I can't emphasize enough how important and how useful this is. hitting someone with 20% healing reduction, less healing received at a crucial time when you're marking burst targets is just so it's just so kind of broken. Like, it's honestly kind of too good. If your whole team is gonna burst out someone, pick one target and burst them out anyways, because that's generally how the meta goes right now. You're not like trying to spread out damage. You're trying to burst someone out, and sort of whittle down the enemy healer's mana bar, so then you can actually kill them. But if you can just sort of bypass that mana bar anyways, and just make them take less healing and just kill them sooner and get more tags. I mean, even if you just kill like 1 or 2 people because of Dark Knight's dark side ability, and then you just run around and hoard tags the rest of the time and don't die, or excuse me, hoard medals and just don't die, like, you still win by default for the time limit. It's just so ridiculous. Like, having a 20%, I don't know, I just can't. I'm sure once you play it, you'll understand. You'll feel the difference when you go back to something else. Like if you go back to Gunbreaker or Paladin, you're gonna be like, oh man, like I really wish I had 20% healing reduction right now. And then on top of that, Dark Knight is sort of like a counter to itself, because you have Dark Missionary, which just makes it so that everyone takes 10% more healing, which means your healer is then having to use less mana to heal up the team for 10 seconds. And they're also taking less damage anyways, so it's just a 60-second cooldown too. Like, it's just got so many things going for it. It has good mana regeneration with Delirium and Blood Spiller, and you generate like 2 3-hit combos or 2 AoE combos, and you have enough to use a Blood Spiller or a Quietus and get a bunch of mana back. And then you still have the Blackest Night for extra shielding capabilities. It's just, there's not really anything Dark Knight doesn't have. Like, the only thing Dark Knight doesn't have is a lot of CC. But then again, a lot of the tanks lost a lot of their CC anyways, so you're not really feeling it. They all had a lot of their main CC transferred over to low blow. So you're not really, I mean, I guess you also lost, I can't remember, but the ability that allowed you to mark a target so it took more damage, you lost that as well. But I mean, 10% AoE mitigation and healing received up is, I think, a pretty fair trade for that ability, especially since you didn't actually really make 100% use of it in pug situations because people just aren't coordinated enough. So I honestly don't really see a whole lot wrong with the Dark Knight. I'm trying to think of cons, and all I can think of is that it doesn't have as much CC. But then when I think about the other 3 tanks, I mean, they don't really either. I mean, I guess Paladin has a little bit more with AoE Confetti, giving more mitigation, but it's not really CC, it's just mitigation, So, I don't know, man. Dark Knight's just really good. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we know from the last live letter that they're going to be making more PvP adjustments before the season comes out, which I believe comes out on Christmas Eve, which is a little bit strange timing-wise, but good that it's finally coming out. But it's I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Edge and Flood of Shadow have at least a 5% reduction in the healing effect, or if they had a time reduction, maybe they cut it down to 8 or 6 seconds instead of 10. I would not be surprised. I don't think the potency or the mana cost are going to change, because that would fundamentally change the job too much. Not so much the potency, but more the mana cost. I think changing the mana cost would be a bad idea to try and nerf it. I think they need to just tone down the amount or the duration. But other than that, I mean, even then though, even if it's still 15 or 10%, like, that's still really good, and Dark Missionary is still there. So, and the Blackest Night. I mean, Dark Knight just kind of brings everything you want to the table for PvP. And if you're trying to, get into PvP and learn tanking, I think Dark Knight's a pretty good option to start with, because you're gonna feel a bit more powerful than the other tanks, I think, which will let you have more fun. My only caution with that is that when you try to learn the other tanks, you're gonna feel weaker, and you might develop some bad habits on Dark Knight that you can't do on the other ones. So just keep that in mind, and try to play smart. But speaking of playing smart, really what it comes down to is making sure that you have your healing debuff up on the targets that it needs to be up on, i.e. the targets that you're bursting, as much as possible. Trying to reset plunge as much as possible just to get that extra little bit of potency. And then the rest of it just comes down to mana management and knowing when to use the Blackest Night. Again, you're always going to want to have at least 2,500 MP so you can use the Blackest Night whenever you want. That hasn't changed since before 5.1. Of course, there are niche situations where getting the extra potency to finish off a kill is more important probably, but generally speaking, you want to be at least above 2,500 MP so you can always use that shield when needed. And then other than that, it really just comes down to managing your mana, which I guess is sort of the theme. It's kind of the theme with Paladin too, but more so with Dark Knight. And I guess that makes more sense considering where it comes from in a PvE perspective. But if you can manage your mana and you can abuse, I mean, even if you don't do as much single target DPS, if you can abuse your AoE combo, because it's a 2-hit combo and it generates, I believe, the same amount of blood gauge. If you can abuse that for the MP regeneration and just getting blood gauge quickly, knowing when to use that as opposed to using a single target combo for a little bit extra potency but a longer blood gauge buildup, that's what's going to separate you from just someone who's just running around trying to use Edge of Shadow or Flood of Shadow as much as possible on someone. Now, as far as the additional actions and the role actions go, now once again, it's a little bit different than Paladin. Paladin Rampart was definitely something that was a bit more useful considering how it works with Sentinel, but I don't think Rampart is as useful on Dark Knight just because it doesn't have any inherent synergy with the kit. Yes, it helps you stay alive, but again, you're not really going to be taking that much damage, and you do have the Blackest Night and Dark Missionary for yourself if you need. Obviously, don't use them just for yourself in most situations, but if you really need to not drop a bunch of medals, then go for it. And on that same note, as I've said before, Retaliation is just not, I just don't think Retaliation is very good. I haven't really seen anyone use it. It's just, no one's attacking the tank. Like, no one cares. Reprisal is probably going to be your best bet just because you don't have any other way to reduce the enemy's damage output. Unlike Paladin, where Paladin can kind of go away with Reprisal, you don't have that option quite as much. But again, Full Swing Weapon Throw is a 2 extra CC abilities, which is really strong, and that helps make up for Dark Knight's loss of CC on Plunge. So kind of similar to Paladin, I think you're going to see combinations of Full Swing Weapon Throw and Reprisal. Weapon Throw Reprisal is probably going to be the most popular go-to in my opinion. Of course, Weapon Throw Full Swing also strong. Full Swing Reprisal, I think draw-in effects are a bit more useful than knockback effects in most cases. That's why I think you'll see Weapon Throw a bit more. But Full Swing does have a little bit extra potency, and pushing people away from your healers could be strong. You never know. But I think either Full Swing Weapon Throw or Weapon Throw Reprisal are probably your best bets, or some combination of those three. Rampart, again, isn't terrible, but you're not really going to be getting attacked that much in the same vein. Retaliation, I just don't think is really all that great. That's going to be a wrap for Dark Knight. Thank you all to everyone who has stuck around and watched the video to this point. If you like what you see here, then please feel free to like and subscribe. It really helped me out and more importantly, show the YouTube algorithm that you guys like these videos. If you'd like to see me play Final Fantasy as well as other games live, you can watch me over at twitch.tv/FFXIV. Monster Hunter Iceborne is coming out for PC in less than a month, which is super hype. Oh, I can't wait for that. That's going to be so much fun. So we'll have a lot of Monster Hunter content over on the stream, as well as Final Fantasy, of course. We hit Phase 2 in Alexander Ultimate, which has been fun, and now we're trying to just get through the numbers phase so we can actually see Cruise Chaser and Brute Justice drop down and have them wreck us immediately. This video is probably going to be going up today, the day that I record it, which is Tuesday, so I will be streaming today at 5:30, as well as tomorrow at 5:30 EST for Alexander Ultimate. If anyone wants to check out the stream, that would be great. As well as I'm starting to do some more music stuff on the stream too. So if you'd like to see, if you'd like to learn how to play songs and develop your ear and stuff like that, I'm starting to just sort of, whenever I practice, just start streaming and see what happens. So that's also over there for those of you who care. Once again, thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.